Welcome back, everybody. I am with John Franklin, who's the CEO of the United Way of Northern New Jersey, and I had run into John at an event, a university event, a couple of months ago, and we were talking about the middle class. And in this show, we talk a lot about the middle class and how in New Jersey, how tough it is to survive in the middle class, right? And Alice is a program that you guys run here that's assistance for what would be called low income. But our conversation, it showed that so many people in the lower middle class need the help that was traditionally defined as low income or lower income. And it was all the more ironic because this is the second or third most richest state in the country. North Jersey, of course, the biggest, most expensive part to live in that. And you and your program see a lot of suffering in the middle class at the lower levels, at levels that are not so low, actually.
Yeah, we call those folks ALICE. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And we like the acronym because it puts a face on people who we may dismiss and not understand that they're an important part of the fabric of our society.
And there's more of them. Going back to our conversation, and statistically, I looked it up afterwards, and in New Jersey, where we pride ourselves as having a strong middle class, it's getting awful raggedy at the bottom.
Yeah, the numbers are growing in the wrong direction. If you look at the data in New Jersey, about 10.5% of the population is below the federal poverty level, which is about $23,500 a year for a family of four in New Jersey.
Family of four trying to live on $24,000 a year in rich North Jersey. Yeah. That is a challenge.
So we wanted to look at the people above that and see who was struggling. We went all the way up to $60,000 a year for a family of four, just barely getting by with the essentials: transportation, housing. Childcare is a big one, health and food.
Well, you know, you're talking about childcare for a second. Most people don't realize that the amount of money you pay for childcare for one kid, right? Well, everyone's encouraged to have more. One kid might be the college tuition you intended to pay for in 16 years' time, right? Yeah. So you're already paying the equivalent of a year's annual things to, say, a community college in New Jersey, while you're having a family that you're starting out with that might be at $60,000, to your point here, and that's just one of the elements.
Yeah. So how do you put your kid in childcare? And you want your kid in quality child care. If you can't afford it, how are you going to work? $1,000 a month is at the very low end of child care. I have staff who are paying $1,800 a month for toddler child care. Yeah. That pretty well consumes your income.
So what does the program, what do you do with that program, Alice, and what kind of aid? What is the aid that you can get and who can get it?
Yeah, well, ironically, the people above the federal poverty level but below what we call the Alice threshold are not eligible for most subsidies or assistance from the government. Again,
a reflection of the angst of the middle class, where they feel, well, we need it, like you just said before. Yeah. You might have $60,000, $50,000, $40,000, and you say, okay, it's a decent income, we want to get more, but you're not entitled to anything because of federal restrictions on income limitations.
You're on your own, so you're running up credit card debt. You may be living in substandard housing, driving a car that's not safe, not paying your medical bills. It gets pretty dicey for those folks. So we're trying to do two things. One thing, we have programs that are intended at looking at the root causes. We're very focused on child care and where child care is needed. We've geomapped child care throughout New Jersey and where the ALICE population is, so we can understand where the need is. We're trying to address quality so that folks can put their kids in quality child care. We're also doing something called a free tax prep program. Last year we did 5,100 free tax preps that brought about $5 to $6 million of earned income tax credit back into our region from Washington and Trenton. These are things that help, but we really need a dialogue in this country. And I think the dialogue is going on in the presidential race, but I think people are just not aware of who we're talking about and how serious the problem is.
Well, how serious the problem is, you know, when you talk to people, they obviously come to you as a resource center, are they embarrassed to admit, or are you disheartened to hear how many people live hand to mouth and have not a dollar saved?
Yeah, it's across the state, it's almost 40% of the people are below the ALICE threshold. Think about that for a minute. If that many people are living below a decent wage, and when you think about what jobs pay in this state, more than half the jobs pay less than $20 an hour. most of them between 10 and 15 bucks an hour. A lot of them are part-time. And with the way people are working their schedules, come in for 4 hours, come back on Friday for another 4 hours. How do you make a living doing that? So this kind of data, we hope, will stimulate a conversation, and it's already happening in Trenton. You got an argument over minimum wage, and we stay neutral on that issue. But folks on both sides are using the Alice report because there's good, solid data, and that's what we want. We want a good conversation that will help people sort out the problem and come up with some solutions.
Do you hear, just with a couple of seconds left here, do you hear from them who they blame?
Well, I think you can see in the presidential race who people are blaming.
The status quo.
The status quo. And I would like to get the Alice conversation into that conversation so that we're talking about real data.
Okay, well, you got a long campaign run to be able to do that, interject
yes.
that. John Franklin, the CEO of United Way of Northern New Jersey. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you have any ideas about topics you would like to see discussed, please log on to my9nj.com and click on Public Affairs. We want to hear from you. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And that's it for today's edition of New Jersey Now. I'm Jim McQueeny, and we'll catch you next time.